Now, in this week's edition of Let's Talk Some Star Wars, we'll be taking a look at the results of the poll that asks the question, how do you feel about the Clone Wars Season 7? And as usual, I'll also be reading and responding to some of your comments, as well as showing off some of the artwork that was sent in to me this week. But before we get to all of that, let's start by taking a look at the results, where we'll see that 45% of those who voted, or a little shy of half, said that they were super excited for it and think it's going to be great. 27% then said mostly excited because they do have some doubts and fears, and 5% said they weren't excited at all because they were afraid Disney and or Lucasfilm would screw this up. That then left 13% to say they won't be watching it because, well, they won't be paying for Disney Plus, and 10% said they've never really been all that interested in the Clone Wars in the first place. And before I get to the comments, let me just take a quick moment to say thank you to those of you who do vote in these polls, and especially to those of you who take the time to leave a comment. I greatly do appreciate it. Also, a big thank you to those of you who sent in your artwork. And again, if you're interested in doing that, send it to the email address in the description below. Just do remember that if you want credit for it, or you want to send people to other work you've done, include your name or links right on the image, please. And without further ado, let's get to your comments, starting as we always do with the top-rated comment, which this week comes to us from Sophisticated Sonic, who said, "The only reason I have doubts is because Disney is in charge. I'm afraid Season 7 will be affected by decisions made by the higher-ups at Disney rather than the actual Lucasfilm team." And though I'd like to say here that I think there's no chance whatsoever that Disney will meddle with this show, that they'll just stand back and let Filoni and company work their magic, I can't do that because, of course, there's always a chance it'll happen. And the next comment I'll get to will bring up one of the ways they may do that. But before we get to that one, let me just say here that I don't think they, meaning the mouse overlord known as Disney, will interfere. I don't. They have to know this is a fan favorite show, and if we're keeping it 100% real here, the reason the Clone Wars is being resurrected for a final season is to entice people to subscribe to Disney Plus. And this then might be one of the only chances they have to hook some of these Star Wars fans. And there were a lot of comments this week that said this is the last thing they're really excited for in regards to Disney Star Wars. And if they get this wrong, they're gone for good. And so if Disney is going to give any type of directive to Dave Filoni and company, it'd be as simple as do whatever you originally did again. Whatever it was about this show that so many people loved in the first place, duplicate that. I don't really know that they'll come to him and say, hey, we need you to include this message or that. I don't know that in this case, anything matters to Disney more than seeing Disney Plus become a financial success, since many people think it's the future of entertainment, streaming services, I mean. And I'm not saying Disney has never tried to ram politics down our throats before with Star Wars, or that they won't do it again. I just don't know that they're going to pick this show to be one of their battlegrounds. In fact, I think this is where Disney's true colors really begin to show, that it's always more about profit than truly caring about any sort of agenda with a company like this. And if you ever want to see how much integrity someone or a company has, or how strong their conviction is, threaten them financially and see if they hold their ground and keep their beliefs, or if they conveniently change them or back down. Okay, moving on now. Next up here we have this comment from Merkava TV, who said, "I choose to say that I have my doubts and fears due to one reason. I actually believe they will make Ahsoka a lesbian and I don't like it one bit. Now hear me out as to why I think that's the case here. In the unreleased Season 7 footage we see Ahsoka meet a mechanic guy wearing goggles, probably an upcoming love interest for Ahsoka to replace Lux. All would be fine except that mechanic guy is now non-existent in any of the fully rendered Clone Wars clips we got after Season 7 was announced. However, we see a character in Season 7 trailer, a girl wearing goggles, who just so happens to be Ahsoka's guide around bottom-level Coruscant, a role that most likely was meant to be the mechanic guy. She looks just like him except the fact that she's a woman. We did not see her in any of the unrendered Season 7 footage. I worked with 3D graphics and I know that replacing a model is not impossible, nor somehow very hard. I am afraid we might be enforced some LGBT politics, and the target this time is Ahsoka. They chose not to go with a romance with some white mechanic dude, but instead thought it would be interesting to introduce LGBT into Star Wars by making Ahsoka fall for that girl. Before you say that's impossible, let me remind you that The Legend of Korra, a TV series which is, in its ending, sent a clear LGBT message. I hope I turn out to be horribly wrong, but if not, I feel like this might be the next level blank in the Star Wars universe. Not in a good way at that. Okay, first of all, sorry if I didn't read that the best, but I think we all understand what he was trying to say there. And I really hope they don't do this, that they don't imply that Ahsoka is a lesbian. And I think they'd only imply it. I don't know that they'd openly or fully embrace it. I could be wrong about that, but I think it'd just be something that they more or less subtly hint at. And before you run to the comments and call me a horrible, intolerant bigot, let me explain. Because the thing is, I won't really care if they do it. And as I like to say, don't mistake my apathy for objection. Because the thing is, we know where the character of Ahsoka Tano is going to end up. We've seen her in Rebels. We know she is someone who has devoted herself to a cause. She is essentially a Jedi or acts like one, but refuses to embrace the title because of her past. We even see at the end of Rebels that she apparently transcends and becomes Ahsoka the White, if you will. And I don't at all get the impression her sexuality will have any bearing on what her story was before we see her in Rebels, and there's even an Ahsoka novel out there that doesn't play at it at all. And I certainly don't think it'll have any bearing on where she's going after we see her at the end of Rebels. In other words, it would be done just to do it. And I can't help but feel that, in a way, it would be done just to test the fans of her. Because whenever someone starts to accuse Star Wars fans of being sexist because they don't like Rey, for example, the go-to counterattack is always Ahsoka. How can I be sexist for hating Rey when I love Ahsoka, many will say. It really utterly destroys that argument. And so again, at the risk of sounding like a conspiracy theorist here, I can't help but feel or fear that they might be like, haha, we've made Ahsoka a lesbian. Is she still one of your favorite characters now? And if you say anything but a resounding yes, they'll have you. They'll stamp the bigot label right back on you. Doing this would feel less about exploring the character of Ahsoka, again, considering we know where she's going, and would feel more like a trap that even Admiral Akbar could spot from a mile away. And if you are gay and you're watching this video, first of all, hello there. And second, tell me in the comments below if this would really mean something to you or not. If retroactively making Ahsoka a lesbian would be a big deal that you'd love, or something you wouldn't really care about, or if you'd see it just as them trying to pander to you. Okay, let's now move on to this comment from Horizon Brave, who said, "Let me summarize the answer you want to hear, Thor. It's Disney, so they'll screw it up, but it's better than the sequels. So yeah, you can end the poll early and just shoot the video already. We know what's coming." Apparently you don't know what's coming because I don't think they're going to screw this up. I think it's going to be fantastic. I firmly put myself into this super excited category who has no doubts about this. Again, they can even go ahead and make Ahsoka a lesbian, and I won't care either way. I'll find it an odd story choice and wonder if they're trying to provoke some while pandering to others, but I'm still expecting this to be fantastic all around. Sorry if that's not the answer you were apparently wanting to hear. Anyway, let's now move on to this comment from Hero of Kush, who said, "Not feeling the hype. Maul will live, Ahsoka will live. I don't feel like nothing is at stake here." And yeah, I certainly get where you're coming from with that, and it's a shame that we couldn't get the full Season 7, not to mention all of Season 6 and 8, and even 9 if you wanted to give it to us, back in the day, back before Rebels spoiled what the fate of characters like Maul and Ahsoka would be in the Clone Wars. Nevertheless, I'm still going to enjoy seeing it now. Next up then, we have this comment from Max Eisenhart, who said, "Mostly excited. I'm a little bit skeptical about the choice of some episodes, mainly the Bad Batch arc, which was meh for me, and overall the shorter number of episodes for this season. I was expecting General Grievous would finally have his long overdue chance at getting some glory, but now it seems unlikely. The same for Boba Fett and Cad Bane. Anyway, I hope the final arc will make it up for all the potential this great series once had." And like with the previous comment, I do get where you're coming from, and it's a shame we're missing out on some of the other arcs we know existed that likely would have been really awesome to see. It's a shame that Filoni sounds like the door will be completely closed after this season, that they'll never again go back to revisit any of the other arcs that are still incomplete. Though I suppose if it's extremely popular, anything is possible. Fans did save it once. Maybe they can do it again if they really fight for it. Alright, next up we have this comment from Nathan Harris, who said, "I've still never watched the first 6 seasons. Can't wait to binge them." And all I can say to that is, you sir are in for a treat. Next up here we have this comment from Alex Yoblik, who said, "This was one of the biggest parts of Star Wars for me growing up. Had so many great stories to tell as well as amazing characters, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka being the best trio. Had plenty of content for all ages and didn't shy away from showing the reality of what a galactic scale war should look like." Also in regards to Ahsoka, she is my most favorite character in all of Star Wars. She has done and seen it all and still remains true to herself, that being a sweet and caring person in a galaxy with lots of suffering, all while still being a complete badass. Next up here, we have this comment from Jackson W, who said, Filoni is a master. Clone Wars is my favorite Star Wars media. I'm so excited. Imagine the Anakin-Ahsoka interactions. And then we have this comment from Devin Williamson, who said, very excited. Filoni is the only one left at Lucasfilm who knows how to make great Star Wars stories. I would prefer they let him finish the show with full seasons 6 through 8 as originally planned, but we all know that this is only Disney Plus bait. At least we get the Siege of Mandalore. Next, we had this comment from Yeah Boy, who said, not getting Disney Plus, but I'm certainly planning to watch it somewhere online. And finally here, we have this comment from Zot TV, who said, literally waiting for Clone Wars Season 7 so I can leave Star Wars after. That is one of the last things that Lucas saw over, so I know it's going to be great. This is the true Star Wars. And obviously, Disney and Lucasfilm are hoping you and many others change your mind about that, about leaving Star Wars forever after the Clone Wars. And quite honestly, these next few months are going to make it or break it in a lot of ways for this franchise. Not saying it could never recover if things end up going horribly wrong here, but there is a lot riding on the rise of Skywalker being good so that fans will be excited for whatever movies come next, with my guess being an Old Republic trilogy. There's also a lot riding on The Mandalorian to sell this idea that Star Wars lends itself well to a serialized live-action show, which will then help sell Disney+. And the Clone Wars Season 7, though also there to sell Disney+, or to stop you from canceling once The Mandalorian is over, I think is Disney realizing that there is a large portion of the fan base that exists because of that show, and another large section of the fan base who loved it because they made the prequels better, or just because it was a great Star Wars show all around. I mean, since the original trilogy, hell, since The Empire Strikes Back, really, there isn't much that almost all Star Wars fans agree on, but The Clone Wars feels like one of those things that has very few detractors. Sure, you could argue a lot of fans have never seen it, and that's one of the reasons there seems to be almost universal praise for it, while others maybe just don't care about it, or don't see it as real Star Wars because it's a cartoon. But for a good portion of the fan base, this show is sacred to them. And so I fully believe Disney and Lucasfilm realized that, and after the controversy with the sequels, they know they really need to get this right or they'll lose even more fans. And so again, I have faith, or I want to have faith that they're just going to let Dave Filoni and company do this and they'll get it right. And I don't think they're going to do anything with Ahsoka because I don't think they'll want another controversy or to mess with yet another beloved character. But at the same time, I will say it wouldn't stun me if it happens. And like I said before, I just won't care either way unless the whole arc is about her exploring her sexuality instead of what her life is now like away from the Jedi Order. Again, I can't see how that would serve the story considering we know exactly where this character is going. Well, that's all I've got for you this time. Now it's your turn to tell me what you think about anything or everything I or anyone else had to say here. So leave a comment below and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.